Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. That's right. I'm waiting for the beat to drop. Aha! Okay, that's enough from me. Introduce yourself, my second anchor.
Hello, my name is Ryan Yee.
And my third anchor.
I'm Josephine.
Okay, that's it.
Nice.
Welcome back to the show. We got a lot of things to talk about. We have a guest. And today, you know what, to be honest, it's going to get a little bit more in-depth into a topic that we've always wanted to talk about. But we were like, you know what, maybe it's not time yet. But I feel like today is the best time to talk about it. But before we get there, I just woke up very literally, and I had a friend message me, and she said that, "Hi Jin, just wanted your quick expert opinion since you know a lot about phones." She's like, "What phone should I get? Because my Huawei P20 Pro is not getting updates." And I'm like, so fast?
Just get an Android.
I know.
Just get another Android. Don't get
Yeah, I know that
but
Google.
it's already in effect so fast.
I know that Google
they
banned their updates. Trump banned
Google
from working with Huawei, if you don't know. And we thought that it was going to take effect in 90 days, right?
Yeah, I thought it was going to take a while. I didn't think it would be like so instant.
Yeah, so it's either my friend's phone kaput already or it has already
I'm
taken
sure
effect.
they can still use their phone, right? They just can't get the latest update.
I don't know, to be honest.
So-
Do I look like a phone manufacturer to you?
You don't want to know my answer to that question.
Yeah, okay, never mind. Okay, all right, moving on to more important news. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very special guest in the house. For the first time, we're very honored to have her here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I introduce her right up, because if I don't, I don't know whether I'm going to get into trouble. But most probably no. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Yang Muhammad Michelle Ng on the show.
Hi.
Hi.
Ginny.
Hi. Welcome. So,
Guys, this is actually someone important on the show today.
exactly. So,
So
all
you
of
know
us.
it's for real.
Yeah. You're probably wondering, what do we do? No, we do anything. But straight off the bat, I have to ask one question, So
Sure.
I noticed that, a lot of people who work with you always call you YB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I'm actually just 29 years old.
Wow.
So it feels really weird, especially after elections last year. I was just 28.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then I have a bunch of, residents. They're all older than me. And then they're going around calling me YB. And I told them,
I think
can we just keep it casual? And
Oh.
The YB,
Michelle's
In-
much better.
the Y and the YB is not young, YANG, is YOUNG.
Oh,
Young is the young
Yes,
Muhammad.
exactly. Wow. Ryan.
It's a different kind of YB.
Yeah, man. So quick, so fast with the pickup lines. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much for coming on the show. I mean, okay, let me just rewind back to how this happened. So I think about like a week ago, I got an email from this girl. Her name is Farisha. And it wasn't really a long email. That's why I read it. Normally, if it's long email, I'll be like, okay, skip or delete. And she wrote a very brief email, and she went straight to the point. Kids listening, now you want to catch people's attention? Basically, just get straight to the point. And she was talking about how they're starting a campaign or a movement to help people with mental health issues, or people who are going through mental health issues, or people who are, the reason why she says that, let's get straight into it. I'm going to be really blunt. Suicide is basically becoming a very, 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 very big issue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the cases, correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, are actually alarmingly high this year.
Yeah. Can I just add to that? Why it's high? I can only use Subang Jaya as a reference. I don't have the national statistics.
Oh.
Because I'm the adun for Subang Jaya, so
Yeah,
I
right,
know
yeah.
what's going on in my area.
Mm-hmm.
And we're halfway through the year, but we have already reached about full statistics compared to last year.
Wow. Oh my God.
So if you think about it, it is going up.
So is if my math is right, it's about like almost doubling the rate lah. If this trend continues, it's gonna double
if this
the
trend
rate.
continues.
Wow.
Yeah, because the first time when I heard, we all know, we hear about suicide cases and stuff like that. The first time a suicide case really got to me was when Chester Bennington from Linkin Park committed suicide. And that was when it hit me. And I'm like, Chester Bennington and Linkin Park was a band I grew up listening to when I was venting out my frustrations as a kid. And they were writing music that I could like scream to, and I'm like, yay, I'm cool. And I grew up with them. And when you grow up with a band who basically represents your emotions, you kind of put your whole entire trust, and they become of such huge influence to you. On the day that I found out that Chester Bennington took his own life, I was really upset.
I think that news affected a lot of people.
Everyone
was like super shocked.
Yeah.
Because I think it goes to show that how all these kind of like mental health and issues and depression, it doesn't always show on the surface. So that's the scary part. I feel like sometimes you can't just tell like this guy's depressed by just like knowing them.
Well, you see, the thing is, mental health is like physical health. It's just that we don't talk about it very much. And we don't pay much attention to it. So even though, like, let's say in a day, I mean, if you guys, you're working and if your boss is not very nice to you, and then you get angry and really sad and that kind of thing, that affects your mental health.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and so sometimes, we need to learn how to go off and chill out and, de-stress and self-care and that kind of thing. But no one talks about it. And then one issue compounds with another, and maybe you get home and then your mom is telling you off for not, putting your clothes in the wash, that kind of thing. And then that compounds it, and then you have to deal with your homework, and it's stress and it's mental health. But we don't talk about it. We don't learn how to deal with it. And then one day passes, and another day, and then another year. And before you know it, you fall ill, and it's fine because there is medication for it. That's what we want to tell people out there, that it should be normalized. It is like physical health.
Right.
Yeah. So it's no different than like getting a fever or getting a flu and needing to go see a doctor and get some medicine for it.
Yeah, correct.
No, Joseph, because you have a lot of followers, right? And I'm pretty sure every time when you post something, you get a lot of people messaging you things and asking you questions, because a lot of them are very insecure. And right, and I remember you telling me once, like, I want to reach out to these people, because Josephine, I mean, she had social anxiety at one point in time. She's not used to doing all these type of things. She doesn't go in front of the camera. She's not used to this and stuff like that. And so happened, somehow she kind of found her way to kind of like be comfortable in front of the camera. And hence she has actually talked about it, which is a video she released. And that basically spoke to a lot of people. Do you want to, did you get anyone coming up to you asking you questions after that video?
I mean, a lot, like, they would ask how to overcome and how did I overcome. And I think initially in the beginning, also, like, I think I thought that social anxiety or like depression or stuff like that is something that you can just overcome, and then you'll never come back, those feeling and like anxious thought. But I realized it's always going to be there, but you need to learn how to deal with it, and you get a lot better dealing with it.
So I think that's quite nice that people can reach out to you, and I just want to thank you guys for doing this, because a lot of guys out there are probably thinking, where can I go to get help? Is there anyone that cares about me? So top marks for you guys. But I think social media is also something that we perhaps have to talk about, because this is not something that our parents experienced last time. Like they weren't exposed to the world and have so much access to it as we do now. So our young people are pressured to be a certain way, to think a certain way, to portray themselves a certain way, and that's also additional pressure.
I think like I always wonder also like about social media. How social media for me, I think now that I'm older, I see it as something like inspiration, creativity, but not as real life. But people tend to believe that is real life, and they compare like, my life is not like that, what am I doing wrong? And there's a lot of all this issue where I also realize, because I follow CNN, I see like certain news and stuff. But if I don't follow, I don't receive news, because we no longer watch TV, and we no longer like, I mean, like, things have become very selective. You just see what you want to see.
You choose what you want to follow, and then you choose. So I mean, just to sum up what Josephine is saying, that a lot more people tend to rely more on social media than anything else, than the traditional media. I mean, back then we read newspapers, we listen to radio, magazines and stuff like that. When they publish a news, we're like, okay, cool, I trust this medium. And now anyone could be spreading news. And here's the thing though, when I was a lot younger, I wasn't exposed to social media and stuff like that. So when I had a problem, the only person I can speak to is my mom, which I was like, don't want to talk to her. But because she's your mom, she knows something is wrong, so she'll come to you, and then she'll start like drilling you. It's like, yeah lah, I got a problem lah, you know what I mean? And then she's there for you. But these days, I feel like and I'm going to lead to something a little bit more. I'll lead to something after this. The reason why I'm talking about this is because kids, when they have problems, they go on social media and they vent, right? And when they vent, Number one, you get the people that support them. You get a lot of people that will support them, say that no lah, be like that. Then you get that one person that comes and say something hateful. And they think that that one hateful message supersedes the rest.
Yeah.
And then they basically rely on social media to basically dictate their life. Like, and this basically, I'm not sure, okay, this is obviously not as accurate to what I'm about to refer to. I mean, did you guys hear about the news about the girl who committed suicide apparently because of an Instagram poll?
Yeah.
So when I saw that, and I was like, oh wow.
Actually, what's the news?
It's okay. So this girl posted up an Instagram story, and she basically put a poll. And the poll,
the yes and no poll.
yeah, and the poll was said D or L. Majority of the people voted D, and then she committed suicide. So basically, she was asking people to vote for whether she dies or she lives.
But did she mention that?
That's the thing. So apparently, I mean, a story before that was her venting out her frustrations, right?
Yeah.
Saying, I don't want to live anymore. And after that story came after. You choose D or L. So she wasn't very specific.
Correct.
So, I mean, like, if I was a kid, I was like, hey, DL, I chincai presta. You know what I mean?
And there was a bit of a question mark over it as well because her name starts with D. So, you know, that's why if social media is not used carefully, for our young people, especially if it's used to validate your feelings, I think it can be very dangerous, which is why, you know, this portrayal of perfection and all that kind of thing, I think we need to talk more about how we can be vulnerable with one another and learn how to accept that. Even as friends or as family, you know, I mean, come on, you guys know that in life you're going to deal with a lot of failures, right?
Yeah.
You have to be vulnerable with one another. And just because you fall once, it doesn't mean that you can't get up. And I think our young people need to know that. That it's just moments that you have to deal with and you can overcome them. And I mean, all of us are testaments to it. To be very honest with you, when I took on this job, boy, I thought to myself, what did I sign myself up for? And a lot of the times I was thinking, can I actually do this? I mean, there's one side where I'm stuck with this until the next elections, so I don't really have a choice. But on the other end as well is, you know, dealing with the everyday and going through it and finding support with people who believe in you. And there will be people who you can confide in. And we want to create that kind of environment with young people.
Yeah.
So, which is why, you know, SJ Care Warriors, we're coming about to start that movement, and also try to promote a healthy mental state with our young people.
Right. So, okay, let's talk a bit more about SJ Care Warriors.
Yeah.
If you're wondering what SJ Care Warriors stand for, it's actually Subang Jaya Care Warriors. I was actually asking, why only Subang Jaya? Why can't it be Malaysia Care Warriors? But okay, small steps.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
To evolve slowly.
Tell us more about SJ Care Warriors.
Yeah, so SJ Care Warriors came about at about like towards the end of last year. I had June. She is someone that, you know, is supporting us and she's really driving this initiative. She's amazing. And I post a lot on Instagram about the work that we are doing with mental health. And then she said that, you know, why don't you look into, aside from suicide prevention, which was what we were focused on, just teaching our young people, getting them to learn how to have a healthy mental state. And I thought, this is interesting. Yeah, I think we can do that. So I called her in and then she said, yeah, we'll do this and we'll do that. And I said, great. Yeah, just run with it. And that's how SJ Care Warriors came about. We have a bunch of professionals who are on board. They are supporting us. Also clinical psychologists, clinical psychiatrists, and they're coming around us to, you know, provide us the information on how to deal with this carefully. And then a bunch of volunteers as well who are like, yeah, you know, I've been through the same thing. And I wanna influence people. I wanna add value to their lives. And so we thought, okay, we'll do that. So we are training on one arm suicide prevention, and on the other arm just teaching our young people, women, families, how to have a healthy mental state. Yeah.
I feel like the one thing about mental health, you know, is really a topic that's not discussed a lot in our communities. It's not something that, you know, like you say, when you're younger, your parents always like, hey, you know, drink more water, keep your body healthy, eat your vitamins. But no one ever says like, you know, keep your mind healthy, you know, rather than just study. That's the only thing we used to think will keep our minds healthy.
Yeah.
I have a question though. Like, I always wonder, like, you know how people, some people express their emotion on social media, and I don't know, like, is that a good place for them to express. Because I feel like if you're in a very bad mental state already, and you express your stuff on social media, because I get it, you want to release and you don't know who to talk to and stuff like that, but then it only makes them more...
Yeah, so I suppose there's two things there. The first is the person expressing that they need help, and the second group of people is the people reading it.
Right.
Because both also need to learn how to deal with it. So for the person who's expressing it, if anyone that's listening feels that way, seek help. Don't be afraid to go to a doctor or to a professional, to a psychologist, to say that, I'm struggling with this and I think I need some help. Would you be able to help me out with it? I think it's very brave if you're able to do that, and very, very courageous. The second group of people is those that are reading it. And if you're reading it and you know someone that is going through a tough time, and if you're not trained to deal with it, maybe you want to tell them, look, why don't we go and seek help together, because now I see that you need some sort of support, and I think that would really help them out, because the danger in dealing with it yourself, although you're a friend and although you care, is you don't know when you'll be doing more damage than good. So it's better to get a professional. Like if you're sick, you go to a doctor, kind of thing. You can diagnose with Panadol and all that kind of thing, but that's so normalized really, like everyone knows that. But with mental health, I feel like it's an area that is still quite specific, and we need the professionals to come in.
Because a lot of people will be like, you got mental health issues, never mind lah, it's chill ni lah, you know what I mean, I'll go away what. Just go ahead, get a holiday lah. What, you broke up with your girlfriend? Yeah, go for a holiday lah, like, okay, I'm being very blunt over here. Oh, your parents went through a divorce, don't worry, you'll get through it. It's always like, you'll get through it. But the thing is, how?
Stay strong.
Yeah, stay strong, don't worry, But the question is, how? Because a lot of people will just say these nice things just to make you feel better.
Yeah.
But to be honest, if someone's going through a divorce, if you don't have parents who are going through a divorce, you wouldn't understand.
Correct.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like, okay, when Josephine was saying, is it okay for them to vent out their frustrations online? To be honest, I would say no.
Yeah, I kind of put them in more.
Yeah, I would probably really strongly disagree for people that if you're having problems to lash it out on social media, because you don't want social media to validate you. You know what I mean? You don't want to seek validation online, because number one, you're gonna get a lot of great things. Trust me. Let's say, for example, if you're a very influential person, you have a very big following, right? You say that, hey, I'm having a bad day, or I have this, I'm having a bad day. You're gonna have 1,000 people comment.
Yeah, and
but
those people that read the story, they might misinterpret or receive what you're trying to actually express. And
exactly. So number one, you're gonna get a lot of people who are going to support you. Then you're going to get that one person, are you trying to seek pity? Then you get that one hate comment. Again, because this happens to me too, because, I do videos and a lot of people will say, hey, nice video. Then I'm like, this video sucks. And I will only remember that this video sucks.
Even though it's one out of 500.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, right, this guy doesn't really like our stuff.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, okay, I'm a bit of a stubborn person. And, I would like to think that I handle it maturely and okay.
You'll just ignore it, Joe.
I'll just
that's why you always ignore it, Joe.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But this is what I've been doing. I mean, I don't really talk about it, but I follow some of my followers on Twitter. I don't know why, but because they asked me to follow them back, so I just follow lah. And that was a long time ago. And the thing is that back then they were maybe 12, 13 years old, and now they're teenagers. And some of them that I follow, sometimes they tweet really nasty stuff.
Oh yeah.
They are I hate my life, I wish I'll die right now, or something like that. I hate this. Oh my god. I mean, they're going through something really, really bad. And what I do is I slide into their DMs and say, hey, what's wrong? What's up? I mean, is everything okay? Because then I'll screenshot what she tweeted and said to her, are you going through something? And then her response will be, oh my god, I can't believe you messaged me and stuff, and then it ends there.
Oh.
I mean, she's like, oh my god, thank you so much. It means so much for you to reach out to me and stuff like that. And I did nothing, to be honest. I just messaged her. I'm not trying to say I'm some big celebrity or whatever.
No, I get it. You just show that you can, and
yes,
you appreciate that someone cares.
And for me, is the what made her feel like, I can't believe someone like Jin would actually take time to even wonder what's wrong with me. And it's like, okay, then I told her, you know what, sometimes when you have issues like that, the best is to talk with your parents. I don't say friends, I just say parents.
Yeah.
Because sometimes friends are friends, but the best is always parents.
Yeah.
And if your parents cannot help, then I don't know lah. That's the question mark lah. I guess they can seek help from SJ Care Warriors or something.
Well, they can come to us, and we will try to refer them to professionals. We have a group of psychiatrists who are amazing, and also we know all the NGOs out there who are doing amazing work. There's MMHA, Malaysian Mental Health Association. They're doing great work. There's MIASA as well. They are also doing great work. There's Relate. So a lot of resources out there that we are in contact with, and they'll be able to provide you the help that you need. So we'll be able to direct them there. So if you're going through a tough time, drop us a note. We'll try to see how to connect you.
Okay, so here we brings me to my next question. We have heard about befrienders. I used to work in radio, and befrienders used to be like, "Oh, if you have any problem, call the befrienders."
Yeah.
How is this different from the befrienders?
Befrienders is very specific. So befrienders, they literally, when you are at that tipping point, they give you the opportunity to call and to look for refuge. But for us, we're about rolling out programs. But if people chime in and say that, look, I'm going through a tough time, do you have any resources that you'll be able to direct me to? We'll be able to help them with that as well. But we don't provide those services ourselves because we're not professionals. We're volunteers. And we can't do that. It'll be very irresponsible actually for us to do that.
Yeah, because you need a person who actually knows what they're doing.
So that's how we're different.
Yeah.
So to sum it up, Befrienders is more like a hotline now, whereas the SG Care is more towards programs and services that they can help to link up people.
It's like a community, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe if you had people who are going through certain issues come and meet together with other people who are going through the same thing, maybe they'll find refuge in each other and realize that, hey, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
Is that the goal?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we're more of a resource point lah.
That's a good word, resource.
You can use that. Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, going back to the whole, yes, we're trying to have this movement so that, we can prevent suicide. And I just want to dwell in more to, suicide, the case of suicide. Do you know, or I'm not sure if you are able to gain information about all these suicide cases from whether the authorities or maybe the families. But what are some of the reasons some of these victims give?
A variety of reasons. Well, in Subang Jaya, we're quite special. Subang Jaya, I say Subang Jaya as a constituency. Because we have a lot of universities concentrated there. We have Sunway, Monash, Taylor, Saggy. So a lot of young people. Somehow, most of them at some point in their lives, they will be in Subang Jaya. So it's a great barometer about what's actually going on with our young people. And in my experience, since last year, the group of people who have been, unfortunately taking their lives are between 14 to 29 years old.
14.
Oh my God, 14.
That's
14
crazy.
to 29 years old. So it's quite scary lah. So the experiences that they would have at that age really is number one, peer pressure. And then also, you have your exams.
Yes.
The other thing, which is quite a big one, is rejection. So, when you're young, about that age, it's where you're discovering who you are and you're building your identity and that kind of thing. And then, you're falling in love, you're falling out of love. And some of us deal with it better than others. So that is also a big factor. If you go to the more national level, then there'll be other issues like finances. People who are bankrupt and they can't.
No way out kind of thing.
And then for the older folks is when they experience empty nest syndrome. So when their kids are all away and then they are at home alone. And our Asian culture, right? Our parents don't want to be a burden to our kids. So they don't actually voice it out to say, hey, guys, I'm a bit lonely. Which it would be nice if you can come back once in a while. And some of them don't deal with it very well. And that's where it becomes a tipping point. And then, So those are the bunch of reasons. But for young people, mainly, it's peer pressure and also rejection.
Oh, wow.
Rejection, like heartbreak rejection.
Yes.
I've actually had somewhat of a first-hand experience with that.
Oh.
It's quite crazy.
No, what do you mean by first-hand experience?
Oh my God, I don't know if I should say this. Wait.
You had thoughts?
No.
Okay.
So this happened in my high school. I'm just gonna talk about it briefly. Again, I don't think I should say any names or anything.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was in high school, I was from 5 at the time. Someone in my form actually tried to commit suicide in school.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was pretty scary. He was like on the 3rd floor balcony there, sitting on the ledge, and he was crying, and everyone was like freaking out. His classmates were all down there looking. It's really unnerving to see someone in that state.
Oh wow.
And I'm glad to say, he didn't go through with it. We managed to get him off the ledge with the help of some firemen and all. But just to see how close something like that was going to happen, right? It really had an impact on me also, and I'm sure a lot of our
kids, children. You guys were young at that point of time.
Yeah, we were young, And I'm trying to think of it. It was like really, it was. Oh my god, I don't even know how to describe it. To see something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Happen.
What did the school do after that?
Of course, they gave him the week off. It's like, you don't come to school, even if you're feeling good. Stay home, get rest, get help. Take as much time as you need.
Yeah.
And everyone's really supportive. All the classmates are really supportive and everything. And he's perfectly fine now. He's happy, and everything. But just it's crazy because like I actually know this person, so it's crazy to see how, like what we were saying, like sometimes you don't even know when their tipping point is.
Right.
And to suddenly see it like that it really like turns a light bulb in the back of your mind, thinking, oh my god, this is real. These kind of things happen on an almost daily basis around the world.
Do you still keep in touch with this friend? Do you still speak to this person?
Yeah. We go out every now and then.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's right now. You wouldn't. They say you would have never guessed he would be in that state of mind at one point in his life.
Okay.
Which I think that's the scariest part,
like
not being able to see. It's not something, mental health is not something you can see in the outside, If someone is sick, having a flu, you can hear hachu, yeah, okay, go see the doctor. But with mental health, sometimes it's not as easy as picking out like symptoms like that.
Okay, so since we're talking about that symptoms, it's a bit difficult. But once you know like usually there's a small checklist that you can go through. So
Right.
just to let you guys know what it is, it's direct verbal cues. So someone who says like, I'm going to take my life. That's very direct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's quite obvious. There's indirect verbal cues. Usually it's people who are at that point and they want to put their house in order. They might say something like, this is a notebook that I really treasure. I think you should have it.
Right.
Kind of thing. And then that kind of sends signals in your head like, why would you
Give me
say
your-
something
yeah,
like that, right?
Okay.
So direct verbal cues and indirect verbal cues. There's direct physical cues. So someone who looks really sad all the time and very stressed all the time.
Okay.
Someone shouldn't be like that. And then there's also the indirect, physical cues. So like, for example, one story that I heard of was when someone had a sudden interest in religion.
Okay.
So that person, was super into it, and then when the psychiatrist started to speak to him about it, like why is such a huge change all of a sudden in your life? And he said that, because I feel like once I reach this stage in this in what I believe in, then I can move on to the next the next life, to take my and that was things like that. So indirect verbal cues, direct verbal cues, indirect physical cues, direct physical cues. If they start checking these lists, you might want to ask them, do you want to
seek
seek
some
help?
Yeah.
I think we should go get help together.
And I think we should just normalize,
Yeah.
it's like as if, right? Hey, you want to go seek help? No, I'm not crazy. They all do anything like that.
Yeah.
Why do I have to go see a psychiatrist? They feel like it's those like, I don't.
It's like a
A minute
big
I go see them, there's something wrong with me or something like that.
I'm not tanjung rambutan or
Yeah,
something.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because again, the peers or the community will always kind of make fun of it. I think everybody should. Like what you mentioned, like when you're sick, hachi, people go see doctor lah.
Yeah.
I think people should normalize mental health issues. We should start to practice to normalize mental health issues.
Yeah, I think like seeing psychologists shouldn't be made as such a big deal, but just like a normal. If you have a normal problem, like a problem with a friend, just normal issue, it's fine to go talk about it.
It's fine.
also.
It's fine to get counseling. Like I
Yeah.
get counseling all the time. If I'm in a situation which I don't know how to deal with,
Yeah.
I'll seek out someone who does, and try to get help there. And that's also a form of counseling. So there shouldn't be shame in getting counseling. I
Right.
think we should all.
You're
we should
not
all do it.
crazy.
You're
Okay.
not,
If you need
no.
counseling, you're not crazy. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You just need
Yeah.
some help. Everyone needs
I've
help.
also noticed like I don't know, like I've caught a couple of friends before, like
Mhm.
where I think they're going through like quite a tough time. I noticed it's just a very slight like like probably like 2-second kind of thing where they gaze down a lot when people are talking. Like, I don't know if that's like a psychology thing or something. But
well, I'm not sure, but there's no harm in asking, are you all right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one thing that I think is running through in the minds of our listeners, a lot of people say that, oh, but you know, in our Asian culture, it's very normal to say, oh, I'm so stressed, you know, I want to die, that kind of thing, right? How do I know then? Should I take it seriously? Because it's just, you know, something that I always say as well.
Right.
And a psychiatrist that gave this answer, I think, is super like on point. Is she said, look, yeah, that may be true, but it is still not the right way to deal with stress.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it is better to take that seriously than not, because of the cost of it.
Yeah.
The cost of it is a life. And even if you're stressed, you shouldn't come to a point where you're even considering taking your life. You know, it means that you are under a lot of stress and you kind of need to get help, or, you know, to chill out, to relax, or, you know, to get some self-care, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think like with the whole stress thing and work, it's always because of our expectations. You know, I am expected to be this, and if I can't do this, I'm a failure. But they don't realize, okay, so for people like us, it's a little bit different because, you know, like for me, it's a bit different because I don't mind failing. I fail a lot of times. I wanted to be a pilot, I failed. I go science stream, I failed. I wanted to, you know, I did accounts, I failed. You know what I mean? I was like, and then, but the thing is, with all this pressure going on, I always tell this, like, because a lot of people ask me, how did I get to where I am today? They think that a lot of people thought I'm a dropout because I'm doing YouTube, okay? Because, you know, YouTube doesn't need education. You just go and do it. That's what they don't realize, okay? When I was in high school, when I was in high school, I was not a great student, but I was great at math, okay? When I was in Form 5, I didn't get great results. I published my SPM results. The people will laugh. Parents, my cousins' parents would laugh at those results. And I will be the perfect example. Hey, don't be like Jin, because, you know, you won't have a future. Can you imagine how I was at that point in time when my mom kept comparing me to some of my cousins who are straight A students, especially, and because this cousin was in Singapore. And the thing is, so I was at that point where, like, you know what, I can't. And the thing was, I kind of like was at the bridge of like just give up. Not to say take my own life, but I just, you know what, I'm just gonna give up. I'm gonna study whatever not. But the thing is, when I went to university, that's where everything changed, because I started hanging out with a different bunch of people. I started knowing, you know, other kinds of lecturers who will go all the way out just to come to you and teach you how to do this. And when I hated accounts in Form 5 and I used to fail it, I got a distinction in university.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, this is very unheard of. What did I do? Or what? I mean, like, for me, it's like, what did I not do back in high school? So the thing is, a lot of people think that, okay, if you're supposed to be smart, you're supposed to be smart from the start. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the wrong mentality. Yeah. I feel like what I grew with the formula of the reverse pyramid. And my mom, as a teacher, she believes the whole reverse pyramid scheme, where in the beginning, little by little, as you grow older, the pyramid basically expands the base. Yeah. And that's where you're ready to take in more. Yeah. So that's what my mom taught me. Is okay, you fail, never mind. Although I'm a teacher, and, you know, it's embarrassing, but, you know, because she deals with children, she knew how to kind of like control me in that sense. So, you know, when I went to university, I was so happy that I was able to basically get distinctions. I've never gotten A's, okay? All right, only for math. But when I started getting distinctions for other subjects, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And, you know, the thing is, then I questioned, why did I not get this back then in high school? Wouldn't it be nice if I felt this way in high school? Then I realized that, you know what? I don't care, because I'm ready to accept it now, and I'm ready to feel it now. I'm ready to rejoice. I'm ready to experience it now and be happy now. And it's not too late. It's never too late. Yeah. And then, you know, coming out after that, you know, look for a job, and then this whole YouTube thing happened by accident, So yeah. So that's just in my childhood, what I went through in high school. Just in case anyone was wondering. No one was wondering.
I get that question sometimes too, like, oh, Michelle, you're so young and you managed to, you know, achieve so much in life. And I'm thinking, really? No. There were so many failures. There's no other way to put it that, you know, I had to go through. And there were so many points. I was a lawyer before this, where I felt like such a miserable failure, like the worst lawyer on earth.
Oh, man.
No one would have made that kind of mistake like I did, kind of thing, because, you know, I'm a litigation lawyer, so I go to court. which means that I bring someone else's case to court. So there's someone else that's relying on me, which is like
Yeah.
a lot of pressure, right?
Mhm.
So if I get
Yeah.
it wrong, then it's someone's, business
It's a
at
very
stake
real
or family at stake. So, and I've gotten it wrong before, and I have, at some point cost my previous law firm money because I didn't get things right.
Mhm.
But it is in all these experiences and being able to, pick ourselves up,
Yeah.
that it gets us stronger. And I think it shouldn't be frowned upon, failures, because it's an opportunity unique to you
Yeah.
that no one else gets to experience. So in a way, I think we need to embrace it.
Yeah.
And in a way, I feel like if someone goes through that, something so unique to that person, right? It's not something that I can take away from you. So if you're able to conquer it, it is your story to tell. I can't tell Ginny's story because I didn't go through it.
right.
It's something that's unique to him. So likewise to, all these young people out there, if you're going through a tough time, when you do overcome it, which you will, it's your story to tell.
Yes, but of course, if you think that you're not capable to kind of handle it yourself, don't worry because there is actually help out there.
Yeah,
SJK Warriors are always more than happy to help. And I read there is going to be a walk that's happening sometime in July.
Correct. On the 14th of July in Taipan, you guys are welcome. Join us. It's a walker hunt. So it's like a treasure hunt. It's done by walking, and we want to use it to raise awareness about depression. So yeah.
All right.
In Taipan. So we hunt for treasures all over Taipan.
So it's like a Q&A kind of thing. So there are questions, and then you're supposed to look for signboards, and you're supposed to buy stuff according to the questions. If you get the right, if you buy the right thing, then you get points, that kind of thing. You're supposed to take selfies with certain things, So if you want more information on my social media, michelle.ngmazy.
Okay.
Yeah. On Instagram and on Facebook, the information is there.
Awesome.
Okay.
Michelle, thank you so much for really enlightening us about what you are building, the SJK Warriors. Obviously it's not the end of the session yet because we actually have a doctor who wants to speak to us we should speak to him as well because I think he's more experienced. His name is Dr. Amer. So Michelle, thank you so much for your time.
Cool.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you
before we
for
get to
coming.
Dr. Amer, if you guys are listening and if you particularly listening have issues or you can't handle it yourself, remember you're not alone. You need to reach out. You can reach out and you shouldn't be shy about reaching out because it's completely normal. People will laugh at you. So what? But right now, let's speak to Dr. Amer.
Hi.
All right. Okay, for those listening right now, would you care to please introduce yourself and tell us what do you do?
So I'm Dr. Amer. I'm actually a psychiatrist with the University of Malaya and also the director of the University of Malaya Center for Community Engagement.
Mm-hmm. So you are a part of this SJK Warriors. You're working together with YB and Michelle Ng as well.
Yep.
To help combat suicide, to basically combat suicide prevention, to put a stop to all these suicide cases and stuff like that. Have you? I'm pretty sure, and obviously, this goes without saying. Have you spoken to any individuals who have wanted to commit suicide?
Yes, I have actually, Jin. I've spoken to them pretty much every day apart from Saturdays and Sundays because it's the kind of work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that I would like people to be part of, to be fair, unless you've got to do it. But it's something that it's worth at least understanding a little bit about.
Right. And okay, you've spoken to a lot of individuals and stuff like that. Because right now, like for me, is if I read the news, right, there are mostly cases about students who are always stressed about their academics and stuff like that. We've heard stories about people committing suicide in universities because they were going through an immense amount of stress, not pleasing their parents and stuff like that. What are some of the other common cases that you've heard of? Like the common reasons that people come up to you?
Well, I think first of all, if you're talking about suicide itself, traditionally they're going to be in extreme ages. Yeah, they're going to be at the very young, or actually the very old. In fact, the most senior people are at risk more so than the young. So what we're actually dealing with, what you guys have been sharing with YB Michelle and also friends over here, is a little bit atypical, and that's why we are concerned because there's this growing trend, if that's a word to say, of young people actually being involved in these very dangerous situations. And I think that's where we have together worked with Subang Jaya in particular to test out this model to see whether we can actually save more lives and help more people. And hopefully that itself will be then, as they mentioned, create a movement to normalize, as we mentioned just now, normalize issues with mental health. Because the current situation is that there's just so much challenges among young people. And I think that's, I keep on saying on my own podcast as well that it's probably a very scary time to raise children.
Yeah.
It's very scary to be a children, I think, or a child at this point of time. There's just so much challenges out there, that we didn't have when I was in school, primary school or high school. And I think these kids sometimes they're not able to cope and to deal with the issues that are actually out there. And therefore, they get into dangerous situations. And I think we want to help to hopefully mitigate that particular situation.
Right. I mean, like, to be honest, we're not speaking only to young kids. We're speaking to parents as well.
Yeah. It never crossed my mind that like a majority of these patients would be from the older demographic. It never crossed my mind because most of the time we see in the news is always like kids in school, dealing with academics, or even if it's the older ones, it's mostly like financial burdens and stuff like that.
To be honest, I'm not a fan. I wouldn't say I'm not a fan. I don't want to see news of big celebrities committing suicide.
Yeah, but I think you don't want them to be even portrayed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a very good reason for that. I mean, the famous case is the Hong Kong Leslie Chung. I think it was Leslie Chung.
That was quite a while ago.
Yeah, many years ago. That really, the way that they sensationalized that death was really irresponsible in this day and age. Yeah. But then again, we've also had these continuous sort of irresponsible reporting, which have led to, in a way, what we call copycat situations. And we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So even last year, we were working with a number of colleagues in having a media sort of workshop to sort of educate people that, yes, if there is a death, we would like people to know because it's an opportunity for mental health awareness.
Yes.
But at the same time, you don't want to sensationalize that death to create people who might be at risk to actually commit the same act.
Yeah.
So you've got to be a little bit responsible in the way that you report it, that people are informed that this is an issue, but at the same time, it doesn't trigger individuals who probably are thinking about it to sort of emulate the act. And I think that's a really fine line where we really have to work in that area. And again, this is another part of this initiative, and that's why we got involved with the Sumbangjaya people.
Right. Now,
speaking about this, it reminds me of the show like Netflix
13
Reasons Why.
There's a lot of like arguments when I saw recently, I think 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, like CNN posted 13 Reasons Why, I think, the video, and like people were just like arguing whether it's right or wrong to portray. I mean, what's your thought on it? Cause I feel like, I mean, it's good that we're talking about it and like there is like mental health, but then from season 1, how it was portrayed, like, I don't know, I felt that it was a bit unhealthy, and like how it was portrayed, like everyone did so much wrong to this girl only and on.
Have you heard of the
well, definitely you're gonna hear it in this line of work. But yes, I fully agree with it. I mean, for me, I didn't want to watch it because I just felt it was quite disturbing, just the whole idea of it. But I had another colleague who watched it, and she was pretty disturbed. This is a person like me who actually deal with these individuals day in and day out, and I can't really imagine how it must feel for the masses of people that are just watching it for entertainment. I know there's an element of public health messaging that they've tried to incorporate in there, but I think the way that it's graphically portrayed probably is not as necessary, because there's one thing about talking about it, and there's another thing about making it so real that you tend to empathize, because it could also be the other way around, where people are not empathetic, but they sort of learning things that we don't really want them to sort of emulate, if that's the word to use.
I watched it. I mean, there was a scene which was really, really graphic, and I'm like, I was really disturbed. But I know for a fact that Selena Gomez, she's the executive producer of the show. The only reason why she actually produced that show and want that show to happen is to basically combat the main issue of mental health and also suicide as well, which I commend her for that. She's doing an amazing job because she herself, she said apparently has gone through this
Lupus
whole
and depression.
Depression and stuff like that, and it's like her letting you know what she went through and stuff like that, which is great. But like you mentioned, there's a fine line between talking about it and actually showing it.
To be fair, Jin, there's even research papers on it. People have actually done thematic qualitative research on it, in trying to find out whether exactly as you mentioned, is it right or wrong, and the verdicts are out there at the moment. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so now we speak about mental health, and it's very unusual. Like, again, back to what Ryan said, when you're sick, you sneeze, you cough, but nobody talks about mental health because it's not normal. So, like, will mental health always lead to suicide?
No. So first of all, it's not normal because it's not in our culture to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but hopefully within the next couple of years, I think it will be normal. As it is, we're talking a lot about it this year alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which means that a number of people are being exposed to this idea that there is, your health is not complete without mental health.
Yep.
Yeah, you have physical health, you have social well-being, and you have mental health, and that completes health. Now, maybe probably 5 years ago, you'd think about health just being physical, not even social well-being.
Yeah.
And that's why we're talking about things like, work-life balance, for example, where you want to try to balance whether you want to have a family and work and and that kind of thing, because that's social well-being and friends and friendships and family. But at the same time, now we're talking a lot about mental health and self-care, for example, or resilient building is the other thing, on how to actually protect yourself so that you function at full capacity. In fact, in the West particularly, not so much here unfortunately, but in the West they're talking about things like talking about absenteeism and presenteeism. And most of the time it's not because physically you're not healthy, you're there, you've actually made it to work, but you're not well mentally, and therefore you're just not doing what you're supposed to do. Is your productivity levels down,
It's like you're there, but then your mind is elsewhere.
So the discussion, I think, is really evolving, but we're not too late, because you have to remember that other countries in Southeast Asia probably are even a little bit behind us. It's not. We don't want this discussion to happen how it has to happen right now.
Yeah.
Somebody had to not be with us before we have this discussion.
Yeah.
But at least we're having this discussion compared to not having it at all. And I've been doing this work for 15 years probably, and probably over the last 5 years really actively. And I think this year is the year that I really see a bit of change. There's a lot of people, on board. We're having this particular, session right now. And this is, I've been watching Ginny Boy on, TV and YouTube, but I've never really been in the studio. And I think we're sort of discussing this right here, and I think that's a really big opportunity. Apart from the various politicians that have come on board and spoken a lot about it. Of course, we've got YB Michelle, who's here with us. And she really championed it quite a bit. But we've also had before this Hana Yo, Fahmi Fazil talking about it, Nurul Izzah. So there are people now. In fact, before this, in the previous government, Khairi Jamuluddin also talked a little bit about this.
Yep.
So that discussion is just continuing, but I think it's just reached the peak because of the sad, unfortunate events that have just recently happened, which we really want to do something about. We really want to make that change. And I think that's why, I think eventually we will get there where everything is going to be, pretty much good in health itself, where we include mental health in that concept.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it's not just the responsibility of politicians or people of influence in like big time, people who are celebrities and whatever. I think it's a responsibility for everyone to be a part of this whole influence, to take note of people who are going through mental health issues. But for me, it's in our position right now. For me, it's like if you're an influencer, if you're a social media influencer, I think you should actually pay attention to what's happening in this space. I'd like to share a little bit about Arwin. Arwin Kumar is actually a talent who's basically on our company as well. What he did was he basically took a phone number. Well, he had another phone so basically he put in another SIM card into his phone, and he distributed that number to all of his followers and called it the care line.
Right.
So what he does is he's obviously on his laptop, he's gonna get an influx of messages nonstop. Yep. And what he does is he basically personally messages each and every one of them one by one. If they're going through something that's unhappy, if they're unhappy and stuff like that, he basically replies their messages and tell them, hey, it's okay, don't worry. And that's the first step. I think he's doing an amazing job.
Him also is like he's really like brave, and he has the courage to just speak about it always. Like often all his posts he'll talk about his struggles and but in a very positive way, like how he overcome it and stuff like that. I think it's really
because for someone like him who's actually gone through a very big he's gone through a lot of things. He's been bullied. He's been kicked. He's been punched in school. He's been looked down upon. And now he is where he is. He's a huge star. He's a huge social media star with more than 500,000 followers. And he builds schools. He builds schools for the children who are underprivileged. He started a care line. So for me, I hope to see more of that in this space of people who are instead of just posting photos for, hey, check out my new dress or check out my new phone or check out this new thing and I'm promoting or whatever not. I wish they would do more of this. Dr. Amer, what would you like to see more? Not just only in the social media space, but in the whole entire community space as a whole.
Well, the way what I've been working really hard, and this is where I'm seeing some positive things happening, is I just want this discussion to be as normal as possible.
Yeah.
You guys were talking about just now, if you see a psychiatrist, it means you're crazy, for example. You're seeing me, I don't know whether we're on TV or some kind of YouTube thing, but I just look the same as you guys, literally, and this individual is there to help you, in your new invisible struggle, if that's the word to say. Yeah?
Right.
And I think that's one of the things I want. I would love that if people could just, take some time to understand that if you're struggling, emotionally, that there are people out there that can help you just as if you would be struggling physically. Yeah. And I want people to also be aware that, and also, hoping that when they do meet these individuals, that it's not a sign of weakness. In fact, it's a sign of strength. Yeah? You've identified that you've got a problem, and you've been brave enough to seek help, and somebody's there to help you out. Why should that be a sign of weakness?
That's a success in itself, already seeking help.
And the other thing is that I would like also people to understand that people who actually reach out for help are actually having the same rates of recovery, as those who are probably having a cough and cold. And we don't see the person with a cough and cold say, he's gonna have he's gonna die after this, as a result of that. Most of the time,
Right.
But the moment you have a mental health issue, it could be as simple as a panic attack. This guy is crazy. You just had a panic attack. It doesn't mean that just because you had a panic attack, you're going to go all full blown.
Right.
So I don't think that's fair to the individual. And I think we've got to reverse that, because people who are struggling with depression, a majority of them actually function fully well. Yeah. They're really successful. In fact, there's a guy, we call it T20s, the higher echelons of the society, is asking me, Doc, is there anybody else like me in your clinic? And I said, yeah, mate, there's a few of you guys here. Yeah?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, whether you're black or white. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're Malaysian or non-Malaysian. If you're gonna get a mental health issue, you're gonna get a mental health issue, and if you're gonna get it, then please find help, because help is really available here. And you can actually get yourself sorted out. And I think we would love that to be the main sort of driving, apart from the fact that people are discussing it in a positive manner. Because that's the other thing. Auntie Jane has some kind of mental health issue, or Uncle Ryan has some other issue. We don't want that kind of stigma.
Right.
Because I think you don't say that.
Having a cold.
Is it?
Auntie Rebecca broke a leg. And the way that you say it is like, there's something wrong. But when you have somebody who has depression, you'll say it in that certain tone.
Yeah, you kind of have
stigma,
like a preconception of the guy.
So why should we have that? These guys are just struggling, just like anybody else would, and it's just your lucky day that you're not getting it right now. But wait until you get it, and then do you want people to look at you the same way as you're looking at them?
Right.
I think I really like the analogy of saying like how mental health is no different from physical health. Like how everyone gets
it's curable.
But
everyone is
like
prone to
when
depression.
you're mentally down, it affects your physical health also, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's why they're saying that there's no health without mental health. Apart from thinking of the other physical and social well-being.
I've also heard of depression is actually something to do with your genetics also.
Yeah, so
Higher
when we
risk.
talk about if we're going to depression and other mental illnesses, bipolar mood disorder, schizophrenia, anxiety disorders per se. So these are situations when you've got a really severe form of a mental health issue. So one, you've got mental health. Everybody needs healthy mental health to actually function fully. But some individuals, due to genetic risk, as you've mentioned just now, might be at increased risk of developing problems with their mental health. it doesn't mean that they're definitely going to get it. Just
Yeah.
because their aunt or uncle has it or mom or dad has it means you're going to get it. It just means that you're probably at a little bit higher risk,
Okay.
which brings back to the whole objective of also what we're doing, developing resilience. We want you to identify that if you are a person at risk, that you need to do a little bit more work. It's just like if mom and dad had diabetes, you're probably going to be, looking at your sugar levels and just being a
Yeah.
little bit conscious
Careful
about
on
it. Yeah?
sugar
Yeah.
intake.
Dad had a heart attack, uncle had a heart attack, another uncle had a heart attack.
You should probably be
you're a
careful.
guy, you probably want to take it easy on the steaks.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have a little bit more genetic risk, you just want to be a little bit more careful, which means that you want to take care of yourself a little bit more in terms of the stress management you're going through, in terms of the sleep that you're going through, in terms of physical exercise that you're doing while you're young and healthy, because the risk is just a little bit more for you compared to somebody else.
Right. Now here's a question I want to ask: will people going through mental health realize they're going through depression, or will people will people going through depression know that they're going through depression, or it's something that needs to be diagnosed by somebody else?
Well, they're definitely going to have symptoms that they would have understood is different from the day-to-day practice.
Okay.
And this is where another reason why we're doing things like suicide prevention and also mental health awareness is just for people to then identify, like, if they have these symptoms, that they might want to see somebody to see whether they've got something more than just symptoms.
Right.
Because often when we're seeing them in clinic in Malaysia, it's not going to be like, we see Frasier Crane last time. Well, I was checking it the other day and I realized it's probably like 20 years ago.
Frasier Crane is actually a sitcom.
Yeah.
Have you watched it? No.
Okay. I looked at the face, I knew that was happening. But I was just
Only
saying,
both of us know this. I'm like, oh
but
man.
I'm just saying
Little
that
before my
people
time.
used to go and seek people quite early overseas.
right.
Yeah.
Because the awareness level is very high.
Yeah.
But in Malaysia, our awareness level is not as great as we would like it to be, and therefore we see them very late. And we see them very late. Often, retrospectively, they would have realized that they're having a problem. Going back to your question,
Right.
but often when we see them in Malaysia, most of the time they're going to be brought in by somebody else.
Right.
It's only lately, over the last probably 1 year and sort of mid of last year to this year, I'm seeing more people come forward. Earlier, they reached out on social media as well. I know we had some grouses about social media, but there is some benefit of doing mental health awareness on social media because they're able to reach out and ask, and then you could also then bring them towards the various services that they could actually seek help.
Right.
Because that sort of helps them to hopefully detect the cases early, because you could just be having a mental distress, stress at another level.
Yeah.
You're not mentally ill yet. You're just sort of, you're not coping very well, but you're still functioning. But if you're ill, you're not coping and you're not functioning. We want to get you actually much earlier than that. You understand that you're at risk, and you do things to hopefully reduce the fact that you might get a mental distress. And if you do have a problem here, you're going to seek some help here so that you never get here.
Right.
We're seeing people here at the mental illness level. That's where I see them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
And this is where, going back to your question, do all of them commit suicide? No, they don't. But if you have a certain type of mental illness, you're probably at risk. Yeah, and often we aren't able to detect it early because people don't even know what to look out for. And it goes back to what you're saying just now, harden up, stay positive, pray a little bit more, The guy is struggling, and then this is where, that friend of mine said, if someone is saying, I might as well just die, then you might say, are you okay? Because that's enough, you just, actually, I'm not okay. And then that the conversation is happening. Instead of going like, I feel like I'm just gonna die.
Chill lah, bro.
Yeah.
Chill lah, bro.
People like to
Because
say-
chill lah, bro doesn't actually
Solve.
doesn't even ask the question
Yeah.
whether you're
Yeah.
okay or not. So just asking whether you're okay, I think is probably a bit better. And we're trying to get that
Yeah.
across to
Mhm.
people, because he has an opportunity then to share with you if he's
His
not
problems.
okay.
Yeah.
Because if he's okay, say, I'm just joking. That's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
But if he says like, thanks for asking, but I'm really not okay,
Okay.
then you can actually bring the conversation in a different direction.
Right. Josephine, you wanted to say something just now?
No.
No.
I actually
I
have a
lost it,
question.
honestly.
I actually
Yeah.
have a question to ask. Like, for physical health, you always say you eat well, rest well, do some exercise to keep your physical health.
Get enough rest.
And, yeah. Is there something we can do as well for our mental health? Is there any practices or any sort of exercise we can do,
Yep.
just to kind of maintain our mental health?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, young people, like all of us, I consider myself young too.
We're still young.
Number one is sleep.
Sleep.
Yeah, we really, especially now with the various distractions that we have, sleep is the first one that we often let go. Yeah. And sleep is very important. In fact, if you're at risk of developing mental illness due to family risk factors, for example, or maybe a previous history of a mental health breakdown, then probably moderating your sleep and getting that sorted out is the number one easy thing to do.
Right.
The second one would be about stress management. I know they talk a lot about this, people working in companies that have all this stress management. Some people go there, but it's actually really important for you to be able to identify stress at the workplace and in your life and actually being able to handle it. So it's just not about identifying it, but what to do about it. So things like time management and, you look through the stress books, there's a lot of things that you could do, but these are one of the things that you could also do. The third one, we know that from research that actually moderate exercise. You don't have to do, strenuous exercise. We're not asking you to do full-on, Muay Thai or something, Just about of walking 15 minutes a day, probably 3 times a week.
Or a jog.
Or a
marathon.
Well,
that's too intense.
it's getting harder, but you can do that. It's no problem. But just a little bit of that. It helps with actually reducing the risk of developing mild depression.
Oh.
So, if you're going back to you, we can do certain things that would actually reduce our risk a little bit more.
Actually, I kind of relate to the exercise part, Sometimes when I'm feeling really stressed, I just go for a simple jog. And it's such an easy jog that I'm not even paying attention to how fast I'm running. It's more of like just running and just clearing your mind kind of thing.
I think
you
that's
just kind
why
of like zone out in the moment.
Yeah, I think that's why Ruben and I kind of got into the whole marathon thing. When we started running, and especially when you do it with a group of friends, it's very it's very uplifting. It's like, hey, we achieved this. Today we achieved 5Ks, tomorrow 10Ks, and oh wow, we finished the marathon. That's a good thing. So that's actually we're learning a lot of interesting things today.
For once on our podcast,
I know. Instead of talking rubbish today, you learned something. Dr. Amer, thank you very much for. Is there anything else you'd like to say? I mean, I remember you were just mentioning about symptoms. Again, I know YB Michelle mentioned about the symptoms earlier on, but again, for the benefit of our listeners, what are some of the signs, some of the symptoms you should look out for to kind of like eliminate whether this person has mental illness or not?
Well, mental illness is so broad, Jin. We don't know where to start, but let's go for the most common one, In fact, the walk that we were talking about is looking at understanding depression.
Right.
It is the most common mental illness in Malaysia. It is also the one that has the highest risk factor for suicide. And this is sort of the topic of the great topic. So the first symptom is you're going to have depressed mood. And depressed mood is not feeling depressed because your girlfriend left you.
Okay.
It's actually a pervasive sense of sort of depressed or negativity that crosses across all the things that you do. And it's got to be there for a period of time.
Right.
So it's not something that...
Is it a feeling like there's nothing really wrong, but you just don't know what's wrong?
It's a feeling of... Well, some people say it's a feeling of chronic emptiness. Some people say that it's like in a black hole where you feel that you just can't get out. Some people feel like, there's a curtain that's sort of just slowly down, coming down and strangling you. Okay. So it's various sort of feelings of different people, but the way that we understand depression itself is going to be that feeling, but it's just pervasive and prolonged.
Right.
The second part is that you might not be able to enjoy things. So going back to symptoms, you'll see this friend who often likes to do certain things, he's just not interested anymore.
Okay.
And when you ask him, he just doesn't have any mood, and it's not been there for a day. That happens sometimes, your off day.
Off day, yeah.
But this is something that, you're seeing your friend slowly withdrawing himself, and, you want things that you normally do, he just doesn't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
And then you'll see other things like, sleep disturbances, appetite issues. They lose weight. Some of them lose quite a amount of weight. You'll see like, what's happening to you,
Right.
They might actually be extremely lethargic. They don't want to get out. They don't want to see you. And they'll be very negative. Everything that they talk about is going to be negative. And they'll start talking about hopelessness. And I think that's a bad sign.
Okay.
Because the next sign after hopelessness will be like, Jin, I don't feel like I want to be here anymore.
Okay.
So you're going towards suicidal thinking.
Oh.
And they'll be joking about it. Sometimes, is it okay if I just don't want to be here anymore?
Oh.
Hey, Jin, I think it'd be all right if I'm not here anymore. These kind of negative kind of conversations that It can freak you out. But of course, reaction, in our reaction, we'll say like, "Hey, don't, bro. You just think positive, man.
Yeah.
Oh, don't talk like this, But actually, he's sending a sign.
Okay.
He's actually sending a sign that he's not, he's not okay.
It's not the end game yet. It's a sign.
Yeah, it's a sign.
Cry
And
for
I think
help.
that the other thing that we want to stress as well is that asking him, bro, are you okay? And these thoughts that you're sharing with me, is this something you've been thinking a bit? You want to share that a little bit with me, because
Right.
talking about suicidal thinking does not increase the risk of someone actually suicide. It's actually, like you said, a cry for help.
It's a cry
Right.
for help. Yeah.
Okay.
And it gives permission for him to actually ask that question. For us in medical school, if you kind of say it says risks for suicide, it's an automatic fail. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's like repeat the year again.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
So it's actually quite important for us to identify it. But for friends and family, it's just just identifying that this person is actually needing help, and then being able to direct him to help. And I think that's another thing that we've got to be very careful about.
All right, cool. So, Dr. Amer, thank you so much for being on the show. I want to say thank you to YB Michelle as well for shedding some light on, what SJK Warriors is about, what you should look out for, how you can basically reach your hand out there and help someone. And of course, hopefully this won't be the first time and last time we'll be meeting each other. Hopefully we'll be working together more and hopefully bring more, attention to this. I won't call it an issue. This program that you guys are running, the SJK Warriors. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. Anything you want to say before we move?
No, just keep yourself healthy, keep yourself safe, help each other out, and just be there for each other.
Josephine, you want to say anything?
Thank you for bringing up this topic.
Yeah. And Dr.
Thanks,
Amer,
guys.
any last words before we part?
Well, just wanted to share with you that if you go on mentalhealth.my and to find help, you'll get a nice little infographic which we've actually shared with SJ Warriors, where you can find help within your vicinity.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And if you're going through something, remember, there's nothing wrong with reaching out. And if you know your friends are going through something, again, there's nothing wrong with asking, hey, dude, bro, sis, are you okay? Or reach out to us, okay? We'll try our best to help. Thank you very much for listening. Remember, you can follow us on our Instagram pages at Mamak Sessions. Talk to you guys next time.